Right, I've got my suspicion about Belle and Vinder's child. I'll tell you more at the end of the video. Right then everybody, hello, good evening and welcome. My name is Paul, I'm also called Nik Nak. I'm the brains behind Nik Nak's Daily Teaser, which is the daily teaser quiz you'll see floating around on YouTube. Please give it a look. I'm also the brains behind a whole slew of movie reviews, and you'll find them both on my blog, Nik Nak's Old Peculiar, and here on my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977. I also talk about TV shows I've been watching. I caught Lovecraft Country just recently, and it's a scandal that HBO's cancelled that. But I've also been watching Doctor Who Flux, the 13th series of Doctor Who, and I thought I should tell you about tonight's 5th episode, The Survivors of the Flux. There's possibly also a suspicion or two, but we'll get to that later in the video, shall we? Let me tell you what I thought of tonight's episode. Chapter 5, Survivors of the Flux, opens with a summary of earlier episodes and then shifts post-titles to show how the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, is being transported by a massed horde of weeping angels. Transported to a gap between universes to meet a woman who reveals herself to be Tectuan. The woman who found the Doctor as a child at the dawn of Time Lord civilization and who's in charge of the division, and a woman who has something the Doctor wants. Meanwhile, Belle almost meets Vinder at an abandoned space station she calls a monolith. But her ship, her stolen Lupari ship, is hijacked by Carvanista and placed back in the shield around Earth, one that rapidly starts to fail. In other places and other times, the Grand Serpent, calling himself Prentice and played by Craig Parkinson, is slowly taking over units over the course of many years, slowly building it up and, by killing various figures over its history, becoming the man in charge. It's only when he meets the tough-as-nails Kate Stewart, Gemma Redgrave, that he briefly pauses, in part to order an explosive wired into Kate Stewart's front door. Meanwhile, Yaz, Dan and Professor Jericho, Mandy Gill, John Bishop and Kevin McNally are trapped in 1904. But, thanks to a message left by Yaz for the Doctor, they know a battle for the control of Earth is coming, a battle with creatures left homeless by the Flux. They want to find out the date that battle is due to happen so they can pass it on to the Doctor and try and stop it. Someone, mentioning no slithery names here, is trying to stop them. Someone who has access to time travel, who has access to a lot of money, and has access to a lot of fanatical agents with serpent tattoos on their wrist. Back at Tectuan's base, Tectuan has a couple of things for the Doctor. A confession for one. Tectuan started the Flux so she could move everything she felt was worth saving from the dying old universe, the Doctor's universe, and into a new one she'd seen created. She's got the Doctor's memory in one of those little pocket watches the Time Lords are so fond of. And she has a choice for the Doctor as well. Join her in a new universe, complete with her old memories, or die defending Earth and the rest of the old universe. Now, I have to admit that I have thoroughly enjoyed the first 4 episodes of Doctor Who Flux. They've been superb. They've possibly been some of Chibnall's finest writing for the show, although I know how much fluck the man's had over the years, and I suspect a lot of people are going to disagree with me. Tough. I still think it's a good series thus far. And I also feel that tonight's episode, again, saw some of Chibnall's finest dialogue, especially between Mandy Gill and John Bishop as Yaz and Dan. It possibly helps there that there's more room in the TARDIS for this series. There's more lines per character. But I suspect as well that the fact that the pair seem to get on well, at least in the publicity videos I've seen, That, I suspect, also helps. From what I can also see, the rest of the cast were generally blessed with quite a lot of good dialogue as well. Practically anything involving Prentice, the Grand Serpent, seemed very well written and seemed to have a little touch of a bit of a nod to the fans as well. There's a scene with the general in charge of UNIT, and between him and Prentice that stuck in my mind. There's a throwaway line about a new corporal. I think that's a blatant nod to a certain Mr. Benson there. Very nicely done there. The writing is good, and is possible references, possible real world what have yous as well, and references to real world figures, and possibly I should add to other shows or others' ideas. John Williamson, while we're talking about the real world, the Mad Mole, the Liverpudlian builder who dug extensive tunnels under the Edge Hill area of the city, meets Yaz, Dan, and Jericho towards the climax of this episode. He's a real world figure. Apparently he was noted for being slightly old and slightly obsessed with digging tunnels under the city to give people something to do. He shows them the doors he's found in the underground area that lead to various different time zones and various different parts of the universe. That's kind of a familiar idea to me. I've seen the cult Spanish series El Ministerio del Tiempo over the years. The protagonists travel to various forms of Spanish history through doorways under the Ministry's HQ. I'm not going to say Chris Chibnall's nicked an idea there. I don't know if he's seen the series. I don't know if he hasn't. But it was something I was familiar with. And to me, it seemed an obvious conclusion to draw. It's a similar idea. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else, though, but it's something that seemed familiar to me. Especially given that earlier today, I was talking to a couple of the Daily Teaser regulars, or regular readers of this blog, Olga and Nina. We'd been talking about the series today, earlier this afternoon. So it was on my mind. There's also the character Belle, who has a little digital assistant on her wrist, which I think, especially as it's an AI assistant, it could be seen as the Doctor Who take on the culture's drone characters, or just a logical extension of modern day AI's voice assistants like Siri or Alexa or, heaven help us, Cortana. Either way, and whatever else, I think today I've seen another pretty damn good episode, actually. It's one that leaves me with a point or two. Yes, I want to be back for next Saturday's episode, or next Sunday's episode, The Vanquishers. I want to see Kate Stewart fighting the Sontarans, and I want to see how this story finishes. But I've also got a suspicion I'd like confirmed, if you will. I think Belle and Vinder's baby will turn out to be the Doctor, will turn out to be the Timeless Child. I think we're going to have to wait and see till next week to see what happens there. I'll be watching on the 5th of December. I hope you'll be joining me, and I hope you'll be reading the review afterwards. I'll see you next week. Take care, and let's see if we're right about that child, shall we? Have a good one.